Upon reaching the age of 16, every vault dweller residing in one of Vault-Tech's infamous vaults must take a written test. This test is called the G.O.A.T, or the Generalized Occupational Aptitude Test. But what exactly is the G.O.A.T? Today we'll be going over its purpose, how it's graded, and its influence on not only the vault dwellers who take it, but also the rest of the wasteland. Let's get into it. The Generalized Occupational Aptitude Test, commonly referred to as the G.O.A.T, is an important aspect of Fallout 3. Serving as an integral component of the game's character customization, the G.O.A.T is a standardized test administered to every resident of Vault 101. Designed to determine each inhabitant's occupational aptitude, the G.O.A.T assigns players their character's primary tag skills based on their responses to a series of personality and scenario-based questions. In the Fallout universe, the G.O.A.T is administered on the year of the residents' 16th birthday, serving as a rite of passage in their lives as they transition into adulthood. The test is intended to guide Vault dwellers towards suitable career paths within the highly regulated confines of Vault 101's underground society. The G.O.A.T covers a wide range of topics, from practical skills like medicine and mechanics to more abstract concepts like ethics and relationships. Each question is multiple choice, requiring players to make decisions that they think best reflects their character's strengths, weaknesses, and personality traits. The G.O.A.T serves as both a means of character customization and a narrative device whose goal is to immerse the player in what Vault life is truly like. But what sort of questions are on the G.O.A.T? Well, let's go through them. The first question is as follows. You are approached by a frenzied Vault scientist who yells, "I'm gonna put my quantum harmonizer in your photonic resonation chamber." What's your response? The answers are, "But doctor, wouldn't that cause a parabolic destabilization of the fission singularity?" This answer relates to the science skill. "Yeah, up yours too, buddy." This relates to speech. "Say nothing, grab a nearby pipe, and hit the scientist in the head to knock him out. For all you knew, he was planning to blow up the vault." This is melee weapons. "Say nothing, but slip away before the scientist can continue his rant." This, of course, is related to the sneak skill. Question 2 is, while working as an intern in the clinic, a patient with a strange infection on his foot stumbles through the door. The infection is spreading at an alarming rate, but the doctor has stepped out for a while. What do? Amputate the foot before the infection spreads, melee weapons, scream for help, speech, medicate the infected area to the best of your abilities, medicine, or restrain the patient and merely observe as the infection spreads, science. The next question is, you discover a young boy lost in the lower levels of the vault. He's hungry and frightened, but also appears to be in possession of stolen property. What do? Give the boy a hug and tell him everything will be okay, speech. Confiscate the property by force and leave him there as punishment, unarmed. Pick the boy's pocket to take the stolen property for yourself and leave the boy to his fate, sneak, or lead the boy to safety, then turn him over to the overseer. This answer doesn't have a related skill. Question 4 is, congratulations, you made one of the Vault 101 baseball teams. Which position do you prefer? Pitcher, explosives, catcher, big guns, designated hitter, melee weapons, or none, you wish the Vault had a soccer team, unarmed. Q5 is, your grandmother invites you to tea, but you're surprised when she gives you a pistol and orders you to kill another Vault resident. What do? Obey your elder and kill the Vault resident with the pistol, small guns, offer your most prized possession for the resident's life, barter, ask Granny for a minigun instead, after all you don't want to miss, big guns, throw your tea in Granny's face, explosives. Q6, old Mr. Abernathy has locked himself in his quarters again, and you've been ordered to get him out. How do you proceed? Use a bobby pin to pick the lock on the door, lockpick of course, trade a Vault hoodlum for his cherry bomb and blow open the lock, explosives and barter, Go to the armory, retrieve a laser pistol and blow the lock off, energy weapons. Walk away and let the old coot rot. Weirdly enough, this answer is related to the repair skill. Question 7. Oh no, you've been exposed to radiation, and a mutated hand has grown out of your stomach. What's the best course of treatment? A bullet to the brain, small guns. Large dose of anti-mutagen agent, medicine. Prayer, maybe God will spare you in exchange for a life of pious devotion, barter. Or removal of the mutated tissue with a precision laser, energy weapons. Question 8. A fellow Vault 101 resident is in possession of a Grognak the Barbarian comic book, issue number 1. You want it. What's the best way to obtain it? Trade the comic book for one of your own valuable possessions, barter. Steal the comic book at gunpoint, small guns. Sneak into the resident's quarters and steal the comic book from his desk, sneak. Slip some knockout drops into the resident's Duca-Cola, and take the comic book when he's unconscious, medicine. Q9. You decide it would be funny to play a prank on your father. You enter his private restroom when no one is looking, and loosen some bolts on his pipes. When the sink is turned on, the room will flood, repair. Put a firecracker in the toilet, that's sure to cause some chaos. Explosives. Break into the locked medicine cabinet and replace his high blood pressure medication with sugar pills, medicine. Or manipulate the power wattage on his razor so he'll get an electric shock next time he shaves. Another weird one here, lockpick. And finally, the last question, question 10, is, who is indisputably the most important person in Vault 101? He who shelters us from the harshness of the atomic wasteland, and to whom we owe everything we have, including our lives. All the answers are the same, with that being the Overseer. Unsurprisingly, this answer doesn't affect your results. But what do these answers really mean? Well, the results of the GOAT are dependent on the answers given to each question. Each answer adds a tally to its associated skill, and then the skill that accumulates the most tallies determines the Lone Wanderer's job. If multiple skills tie for points, then the skill that comes first in alphabetical order determines the player's job and primary tagged skill. As the game allows players to tag 3 skills, the next 2 highest skills will also be tagged, but they don't play a role in which job the Lone Wanderer will get. The available jobs are as follows. If the barter skill gets the most tallies, then the Lone Wanderer will get Vault Chaplain as their job. Gotta get those church donations somehow. If it's big guns, they will get Laundry Cannon Operator. I'm not entirely sure what a laundry cannon is, but it certainly sounds cool. Energy Weapons gives Pedicurist for some reason. Laser off those nasty bunions, maybe. Explosives gives Waste Management Specialist. I'm not sure if I see a correlation here either. Lockpick gives Vault Loyalty Inspector. Pick the locks of other Vault dwellers to see if they're harboring any anti-Vault 101 or anti-Overseer propaganda, I suppose. Medicine gives Clinical Test Subject, though I'd imagine that your dad wouldn't perform medical tests on their only child. Melee Weapons gives Fry Cook, even though there is no iron skillet weapon. Repair gives Jukebox Technician, no toasters to repair, so I guess jukeboxes are fine. Science gives probably the most respected jobs of the ones I've mentioned so far, Pip-Boy Programmer, no offense to any pedicurists or laundry cannon operators. Small Guns gives Tattoo Artist, who the heck is getting a tattoo in the vault anyway? Sneak gives Shift Supervisor for some reason, maybe you gotta sneak to do all that micromanaging. Speech gives Marriage Counselor, gotta keep that divorce rate down, you know? And Unarmed gives Little League Coach. Corporal punishment is never good, even if little Jimmy dropped an easy fly ball. Now I should note that Mr. Broch, Vault 101's teacher, has a dialogue that also gives Masseuse as a job, but it was never implemented properly and cannot be achieved. I'd argue that Masseuse would be a better fit for the Unarmed skill instead of Little League Coach, but what do I know? Now, the player also has the option to skip the GOAT entirely. asking Broch to fill it out for them on their behalf. This gives the player 4 dialogue options, which will quickly determine the player's 3 tagged skills. But are there any other Vault professions? Well, the answer is yes. Butch Deloria's GOAT results places him as a hairdresser. Paul Hannon Jr.'s GOAT results in Vault Engineer. Christine Kendall's GOAT results did not place her into science or home economics like she wanted, but rather the maintenance department with her grandfather. Garbage burner is another job, but not very respected at all. After a confrontation, Amada says that Butch will probably end up as a garbage burner. There is also teacher, of course. The Broch family tree has been teaching Vault Dwellers since Vault 101's earliest days, and Susie Mack's GOAT results placed her in teaching. The Lone Wanderer's dad, James, is the Vault's physician, and the last notable job is Vault security. This position is typically offered to the Overseer's most loyal dwellers. At first glance, it may seem like the outcomes of the GOAT hold significant weight within the Vault 101 community, shaping the future paths of its residents. However, these outcomes are not absolute determinants of one's future. Broch's attitude during the test is one of mocking, not taking the test very seriously. He even makes a comment stating that the GOAT is a joke, and gives the player the option to adjust their results willy-nilly. So while the results of the GOAT do provide a framework for the fate of young Vault Dwellers, they are not confined to rigid career paths or predetermined roles within the Fallout shelter. The GOAT shows the inherent limitations and pitfalls of aptitude tests in general. While the test may offer valuable insights into individuals' abilities and interests, they also tend to oversimplify complex human behaviors and characteristics. Aptitude tests fail to account for factors such as personal interests, life experiences, and the capacity for growth. People change, you know? The GOAT is not some end-all be-all for these dwellers, but rather it acts as an aid when it comes to determining the potential future positions for young Vault Dwellers entering adulthood. Now, the GOAT was first introduced in Fallout 3, and evidence of it in Fallout 3 has only ever appeared in Vault 101. However, Fallout 4's release has seemed to have canonized the GOAT as an aptitude test that every Vault administers. Vault 81 has a bugged scripted event where the Vault's teacher, Katie Pinn, recites the instructions for completing the test. But as this event only happens once, it is usually completed before the player ever enters Vault 81 for the first time. Furthermore, one post-apocalyptic settlement has repurposed the GOAT into a different sort of test. The settlement of Covenant in the Commonwealth introduces a modified version of the aptitude test known as the Safe Test. Covenant presents itself as a haven to the hazards of the wasteland, but to get in, one must complete the Safe Test as it serves as a sort of screening. You see, Covenant and much of the Commonwealth for that matter are very paranoid about the mysterious boogeyman faction, the Institute. For over 50 years, the Commonwealth has been dealing with the Institute's synth infiltration. These synths are indistinguishable from regular humans. This is where the Safe Test comes in. The people of Covenant believe that the results of the Safe Test can determine synth from humans. Those who fail the test are taken to an underground compound where they are interrogated and tortured. Now, what's interesting about the Safe Test is that its questions and answers are nearly identical to that of the GOAT. The only changes are that the Safe Test doesn't have the final question about the Overseer. It removes all references to the vaults, and Question 8 has a slightly different answer. Aside from these minor details, the test remains unchanged. And just like the GOAT, the Safe Test isn't a foolproof method of assessing a person. Rosalind Chambers, an anti-synth conspirator and lead scientist of the compound, admits that about 1 in 4 people who fail the test turn out to still be human, making the test highly unreliable. You don't want to be the unlucky chap who accidentally gets some answers wrong. especially for telling the truth about some arbitrary answer about what position you'd want to play on a hypothetical baseball team. So, in both cases of the G.O.A.T and SAFE test, it would seem that everything about these tests and their results are ultimately arbitrary. While the G.O.A.T may point a dweller in the direction of a future career path, and the SAFE test may root out synths more often than not, neither test shows themselves to be very reliable. At the end of the day, figuring out how to free old Mr. Abernathy doesn't prove very much of anything. And that wraps up our exploration into the Generalized Occupational Aptitude Test, or G.O.A.T. What started as a method for guiding young dwellers to their future careers turns out to actually have very limited practical use. The test can be altered at will, the results mean very little, and its use outside of the vaults is more damaging than not. The G.O.A.T is quite clearly not the greatest of all time. But that's all from me today, folks. If you liked the video, be sure to share and subscribe. Join the Discord. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.
Looks like you'll be putting your physical talents to good use as the vault's new masseuse.